Good afternoon, everyone. This is Michael Williams. I'm the Director of Web and Social Media at Absolute Volleyball Academy of Texas. And our co-club directors are Katie Garza and Jerry Lynch. And today I'm excited to have with us 18 Attack head coach and coordinator of AVA adult programs, Amanda Murphy.
Hi, thanks for having me.
Hey, Amanda, we are so excited to have you. We're extremely blessed to have you join our AVA family. I'm excited that our players, parents, and supporters get to know you a little bit better. You're always in the gym and you're always smiling, and this is an opportunity for us to, again, introduce you to our AVA family. So I thank everyone for checking out our AVA podcast, and let's jump right into it.
Awesome.
So Amanda, I believe this is your first year at AVA.
It is, yes.
All right. So can you tell us a little bit about your playing and coaching background, and also kind of your background with Absolute Volleyball Academy that may go back several years? You're young, but I believe your history with us goes back a little ways. So how about that piece?
Sure. So I actually started playing club volleyball when I was 13. And I played from when I was 13 until 18 at Absolute Volleyball Academy. I actually started playing before it was even AVA, before Jerry and Katie had AVA when it was Zero Gravity and Texas Riptide. I was a part of Texas Riptide, and then I spent my whole career playing club volleyball at AVA. I saw the new facility. It was kind of nice because I got to know all the coaches really well, being there from being 13 to 18.
So that's impressive, kind of being in the AVA system all the way from 13s to 18s, and also playing in college. But I want to kind of just digress just a little bit. How was that playing at such a young age, for AVA in our infancy? Because we're into our 11th season as Absolute Volleyball Academy,
right?
And then you kind of joined us before that.
What's funny is I feel like coming back, I've seen there are some coaches that are still here, but a lot of coaches coming full circle. I've seen a lot of coaches that don't coach here anymore, but I've seen a few like Jessica Curtis. She's been here since I was 14, so she's been here for a long time. Obviously Katie and Jerry too, and for the most part I think all the other coaches have come and gone, but it's just been nice to come back and connect with Katie and Jerry on a coach level versus a player level, which has been interesting too. So it's nice.
Yeah, and it's nice for us too because, we always encourage our former players to come back and join our AVA family and continue to contribute to the sport that we love, which is volleyball, and have a huge impact on our youth. So I super applaud you for for joining us and being a game changer. So we're so blessed to have you.
Oh, yeah, it's a great place to be.
How about your playing in high school? If you can share that experience with us, and as well as after high school, what that entailed. Sure.
So I played at Livingstone's Christian School, which is in Alvin. I actually lived in the Alvin School District, but we decided for me to go to private school. And when I was in high school, we won the 2A state championships my freshman and sophomore year. And then my junior year, lost in regionals. And then my senior year, we lost in the finals in 5, the state championship. So we got runner-up, which was really sad because that was the best team we'd had all 4 years. Was my senior year. So that was a very emotional loss. But I guess it's been so long since then, and I had a really fun collegiate career that I don't really think about that loss anymore. But when I think back about it, it was tough.
Well, that's a big stage, and it's nice to have that experience and know how to move on past that, really treasure those fun times, and then the takeaways are if you have that experience again, what could be done differently, right. And just the whole camaraderie that comes with building special teams at special points in your life. Oh yeah.
And then my 4 years I played college volleyball at Gardner-Webb University, so I saw a big transition when I was there. From my freshman to sophomore year, we had a new coach come in. And this is kind of getting to our later questions, but at first he didn't like the way I played, so it was a whole struggle as to, okay, is he going to keep me? Is he not going to? But then towards my senior year, I was one of the captains and the starters on the team, so that was an interesting relationship too. And now we're still even really, really close. So if from coach to coach, I can call him and talk to him about any life decisions I want to make, which I do all the time, so that was, I had a really fun collegiate career. I met my best friends. I learned how to it's different playing volleyball in high school versus college because it's a full-time job. You're in the gym all the time, you're working out, and it's tough when you're losing too. So my first 2 years, we didn't have a very good program. Then by the time I was a senior, we got really competitive and had the first winning season ever in a program. So it was interesting just to go through that transition, and I really enjoyed my collegiate volleyball career. It was fun for me.
That's so good to hear, because what we also share with our athletes quite often is the ability to kind of see things through. Sometimes things don't go our way, but staying the course, being prepared, and that's what college volleyball is all about.
Oh, yeah.
You have to be prepared. If you're playing right away, or sometimes you're not playing right away, you have to approach every opportunity the same, to be prepared to play mentally, physically. And also, in one of the other podcasts, we talked about nutrition and sleep and just all that kind of
everything.
Yeah, the kind of complete athlete.
Right.
And I'm sure that that's over the course of the 4 years at your college career, that's what you transitioned into. And I imagine that that's what kind of the coach envisioned for you that first year. And you know how it is. Sometimes it's the technical aspect. Sometimes it's the mental aspect. Sometimes it is the physical aspect that coaches really see us just a little bit deficient in. And they push us to meet those goals. So I'm sure that the transformation was remarkable to see.
It was. He always wanted a player that was, the other player that was my best friend, who was a middle, since I was a middle. She was tall, jumped really high, hit the ball really hard, and I was always a shorter middle but really fast, so that isn't something that he was looking for. But I always tell my players, though, if you work really hard, your coach will see that, so I was always one of the hardest workers in the gym, even if I wasn't the best. Sometimes I'd be on the worst end of the totem pole, but I was always working really hard, in everything that I did. So I think when my coach noticed that, he was like, okay, I have to keep her on the team.
Right.
And that's really important, I think, for players to realize. Even if you're not as good as everybody else, if you're working hard in everything you do, coaches are going to like that. They're going to see that. So
yeah. No, I agree. So also there's a gentleman here that's high energy, super smart, always has a smile. He happens to like to travel, and we call him Coach Marco.
Coach Marco, yes.
Tell us about how you know Coach Marco.
Sure. So Coach Marco is my fiance. So we're a volleyball coaching power couple, as I like to say. It's kind of corny, but we actually met through coaching. So after I graduated from Gardner-Webb, I was figuring out what I wanted to do, and I knew I wanted to pursue and get my master's and be a GA. So I just applied to all of the schools that had GA positions available to coach volleyball and get your master's. So that landed me at Nicholls State. And when I was there as the GA, Marco, he was the first assistant.
Okay.
So I was there for a year, and that's when we got to know each other, we met. And then once I transitioned from Nicholls State to Tulane University, that's when we started dating. So we give clinics together all the time, we coach together all the time. And I know some people don't like to work with the person that they're with, but it's easy for us because we both, for the most part, we see the same things, and we hardly disagree on things when it comes to volleyball. So it's easy.
Well, yeah, and that's kind of the best of both worlds, because the conversations or observations and plans that are made in the gym, those can be, carried over in a more casual environment. So, yeah, we love Coach Marco, and we're thrilled that you guys do have plans for the future. And, AVA is all about, relationships and special ones. So, for this coming season, you are coaching 18 Attack.
Yes.
And I know you're super thrilled and just chomping at the bit, ready to go. What would you say is needed at this time, or to prepare for that, as far as an 18 Attack player stepping onto the court this year?
Sure. I'd say for the main thing is for the girls that are 18, it's their senior season. So it's important for them to, even if they don't feel like they're going to have a successful season, just to enjoy their last senior season. That's really important. It's your senior year. You only have, a certain amount of games left until you're done playing in high school. And that's really a big thing, because those relationships that you build in high school volleyball, they're really important. And it's so different than club, because you have the whole student section environment, you have the school spirit environment. So the main thing, I think, is just for them to enjoy their high school season and take care of their bodies. so that by the time that club season comes along, because pretty much these girls play all year round.
Correct.
And
Correct.
a lot of our girls on 18 Attack don't have scholarships yet. So I think, in my opinion, it's important for them to just stay healthy, enjoy their senior season, don't overwork themselves, but stay in that healthy medium to where they're in shape, they're good to go, they're not overworked, and then by the time the club season comes along, it'll be good.
Yeah, and that's a good point to mention. Often there is kind of the unknown of what the next chapter is going to be. But what we can control is today. And our responsibility is to continue to be student athletes. So even at 18, it's important to stay on top of the academic side. At AVA, we pride ourselves on matching our players with scholarships, 100% with seniors.
Right.
So our recruiting director, Lauren Ellison, is one of the best in the business. So that's one thing that we're so blessed to have and offer to our players is, just being in the AVA system and working towards the scholarship that matches best with the goals for that athlete.
Right.
Looking back from where you are now, which hurdles in life did you personally face, and how did you overcome those?
Sure. So even though being young, I still feel like I have two examples of a hurdle per se, and they kind of mirror each other. So my first one is when the coach I talked about, when it was my freshman year at Gardner-Webb, he came in, it was in the spring of my freshman year, and that was kind of his, gauging the team, seeing what players he thought were going to fit with his new system, which players weren't going to fit. And so it was actually me and my best friend on the team. He called us separately into the office and told us, that he wasn't going to renew our scholarships for the following year, but he would consider keeping me on the team if I could increase my vertical. And it was kind of insane, like 3 inches.
Yes.
People that know sports know that doesn't happen. That just doesn't happen. But me being who I am, I was like, okay, challenge accepted. So I went and a close friend of ours who trains athletes all the time, I worked with him all summer. I was in the gym all the time. And so by the time I came back in the fall, one, I was in the best shape I'd ever been in, which I already was in shape, but it really helped me even more. And my vertical did increase by like an inch, which in the world of sports, it doesn't sound like a lot, but that's a big thing.
It sure is.
Yeah. So even though, of course, it didn't increase how he wanted it, my coach met with me and he was like, I'm really impressed by the work you put in. I think that means a lot. And so he just had a conversation with me. And I think, like I mentioned before, he saw my work ethic and how much I was willing to put in to try to meet the requirements that he set forth for me to complete and accomplish that goal, even though it was a horrible conversation at the time. I was upset and crying because I didn't want to leave, and how could this new coach not want to renew my scholarship,
That's it.
Yeah, but that was one of the first example, and that was, I think, I didn't just want to listen to what he had to say and feel defeated, so it was kind of me being like, okay, I'm not going to listen to this. I can change the outcome and I can try to be better. So that kind of has to do with the second example too. So my senior year, I was actually having an internship in Washington, D.C. as a reporter at a major news service.
Okay.
And it was my first time I'd ever worked in that field, even though it was my major. So I had no experience. And it was just a really terrible experience. I didn't like it. I didn't like the job itself, reporting. It just wasn't for me. And so I had my boss at the time called me in, and I'd been making a few mistakes too. So I'd made some few mistakes in regards to the writing pieces I was putting out, spelled some names wrong, things like that, which is a big deal in journalism.
Yes, it is.
And then I didn't have much guidance either. So it was really tough for me. So he called me in, and then they just told me that, I'd made too many mistakes. They weren't going to help me anymore. They were too busy. So just find some things to do when you come into work. And I had a month left of the internship, So I was like, okay. And they also told me they thought I had ADD. So when I was like, this is really strange. So it was just a time in my life when I was missing my college friends because they were still in school, and I was in DC kind of far away. So I think the two examples were something that I had to overcome because no matter what either my coach told me or what my boss told me, I know who I am and I know what I can do to control the situations, So if a person thinks I have ADD, so what? I know myself. I don't think I have ADD. Let's move on. If someone tells me, hey, you're not going to be on this team if you can't jump this high, you know what? I know who I am. Let's prove you wrong. So I think those are two examples that kind of fall under the same pattern.
Those were excellent examples because in life, it's going to happen to all of us where we are on a certain path. We've kind of done everything that we can to pursue those, whether it be athletically or academically or professionally. And then life just throws us a curveball.
Yep.
And it kind of shakes our foundation a little bit. We have to do a whole lot of soul searching.
Right.
That's why family, friends, coaches are so important, just to have that network. And also, like you mentioned, we have to know ourselves. And when you do know your capabilities and you have that confidence, then if you have to change course, you can do that without feeling like you failed.
Right.
Because it's not a failure. It just means that your skills align with a different path. That's all. That's all it is.
Right.
Some of the most successful people in life have had to overcome situations where what they thought was going to happen totally did not happen.
Right.
It just, things kind of blew up, so to speak. So that's great for our AVA family to hear. Just in those two situations, on the court and off the court,
right,
that you had to deal with both. And,
in life and in volleyball.
right. And then you have to smile and you say thank you very much for the experience. Or if it is a challenge, we meet the challenge. It's just how we do.
Right.
And kind of how you feel after. So how do you feel? How did you feel after both of those situations?
Well, what's funny is during the situations, I felt awful, because, in the first example, I'm like, I'm going to have to leave the school. I have my friends here. I don't jump high. I'm awful at volleyball. What am I going to do? And then with the DC example, I hate this job. My boss doesn't, thinks I have ADD. Maybe I'm not good at this, So at first I had a lot of doubts. What if I'm not that good? What if I actually do have ADD? So when people tell you things like that, you start to question yourself, but I have good people in my life, so I took some time. I called my friends at college. I called my mom, so they kind of help, to reaffirm things that I already knew, But after the fact, like you asked, I'm very good friends with my college coach now. I mean, anytime I have a big decision to make, I call him because he's one of my mentors. I can't say that about the DC example, but again, that taught me to just not listen to what people have to say. In a lot of instances in life.
Yeah. Well, also having the image of your boss. So
right.
I'm sure if he could speak with you today, he would.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, he would let
I'm
you
sure.
know how proud he is of the path that you did take and continuing your education and things of that nature. So that's good stuff. So what's the best advice that someone ever gave you about playing at the next level?
Okay. Playing at the next level. I would say I had a coach when I was 17 here at AVA, and she was a great coach. She played professionally, I believe, in Italy, and she also played for the U.S. national team the year that they didn't get to go to the Olympics. Okay. So she came to my graduation, and she gave me an awesome gift. It was a coin from when she was playing overseas, and they don't make them anymore. So that's the currency that they used to use. Now they have the euro, or whatever currency they may have. So she wrote a nice little note, and she told me kind of, I guess, how the question you asked before, what did you overcome and how? So she just told me that, I give you this coin because it's unique. They don't make them anymore. This is one of a kind. And she was like, you have to approach your life like you're this coin. You are one of a kind, you're special. And if you know that about yourself, you'll be able to do anything you want, whether that's playing at the next level, whether that's getting a job you want, anything like that. I know that's not volleyball related. It's more life related, but.
Well, I think that speaks to being humble in life, because what I've noticed, and oftentimes our athletes are exceptionally talented. Well, what happens is when you get to either university, D3, D2, D1, hopefully the entire team are full of exceptional athletes. And then to form as a group and to be one on the court, no matter kind of who's playing at that time, it's kind of giving your best.
Right.
To have that awareness to say, I'm special, but I'm also a special part of the team. I think that's kind of how one can take their game to the next level on a bigger stage.
Right. And I think, too, that in regards to volleyball playing at the next level, especially girls that are 17, 18, I think by that time, if they're playing in club at AVA, they know they want to get a scholarship. Whether they already have one or not, they know they're going to play in college. I think the main thing to realize is that it's hard. but that doesn't mean that's a bad thing. Just because something is hard doesn't mean that it's something bad or something wrong to do. It's just a whole different atmosphere. You're in the gym all the time. You have to eat well. You have to sacrifice, going out with your friends on a Friday night because you have a game on Saturday.
Yes.
So there's a lot of sacrifices you have to make, and it's difficult, but it's really rewarding.
Correct.
And that's with anything in life too.
Yeah.
So it's a good lesson for kids to learn at a young age. So.
I agree 100%. So in addition to coaching at AVA, you're also the coordinator of our brand new AVA adult program.
I am.
Can you share a little bit about those programs at this time and what we're planning for the future?
Sure. So this was really bred out of a desire to play volleyball in this area. So in this area, there are really no places for adults to go and play that's close. So I was thinking one day along with Marco, okay, why don't we use AVA to just have an adult open gym? And then eventually we can see how many people we get. And if there's a big following, we can start having leagues, and then have tournaments and things like that. So right now we're in kind of the beginning stages of having open gyms Fridays from 7 to 9, just seeing who comes out. And then from there in the future, we'll probably start having some league tournaments.
Well, I can definitely see both of those programs growing, expanding, and really offering something extremely positive for the community. AVA will be a great home for any folks that want to join us in the adult world. And, I can see a lot of hard but fun play going on. And really quick also, can you speak to kind of the levels that are available for open gym? Just, so I want to make sure that folks feel not overwhelmed, because when you hear AVA, you think of top level talent. So from the adult open gym perspective, if you can just share with us on that.
Sure. I've gotten some questions too about that. So we'll always have a court that's pretty competitive. Whether those people played in college or not, doesn't matter. But that one court's usually pretty competitive. We have some guys that come out and hit really hard, and some kids that pass really well. But from there, we also have different courts that if you're new to volleyball, you can still come out and play. And it's really right now relaxed, so that say if you want to play one game and sit the next game, that's fine too. You don't have to play on a team if you don't want to. So there was one tournament, one open gym, when we had about 15 people, and we had all different levels, but all of those levels were playing on the two courts together. So, we would have a team full of 4 people that were pretty good, and then 2 that were like novice, somewhat beginner players. So we don't discriminate based on level of play.
We love the game, and we invite everyone that loves the game to join us as well.
Yes,
that's
exactly.
What it's all about. And I know you're doing so many things between, of course, getting ready to coach, and you're passing school. And I believe you also you are available for private lessons?
I am, yes. Okay. Yeah, I give lessons, usually on the weekends, on Saturdays, and sometimes in the evening during the week.
Okay. And specifically, kind of what skills do you specialize in?
Really, I can coach any age and any skill. I don't really have a preference. Like working in college, I got to work with positions that I wasn't really used to working with. So I like to work with middles, setters, right sides, and then in college I got more of the feel for, okay, let's work with outsides, let's work with liberos. So really it doesn't matter.
Okay. And also kind of when it's all said and done, let's say we get to May, we have an incredible season in front of us, but what would your goals be as far as the interactions with your specific team, which would be the 18 attack? Like looking back, what would you want to, what type of connections would you want to make with each player?
Oh, yeah, that's a good question. So I always feel like it's important to make connections with any kids that you are either teaching or coaching. So by the time the season is over with, yes, it's great if we qualify for nationals. Yes, it's great if we place. Yes, it's great if we win. But I would hope that they would see me as a mentor when they're done with me having to coach them, because that's when you really find out, okay, when that person in that phase of your life, if whatever you were doing is over with, do they still want to contact you? Do they still want to reach out? So I would hope that they would find me as somebody to kind of ask questions, just as I guess as a mentor.
Yeah. No, and I think that's great, and I think that that will occur. I know that our athletes will connect with you on many, or have already connected with you on many levels, but that's what you want. You want to have, when you're transitioned to the next level, you want to have that coach on speed dial to ask them, it could be about playing, and then,
right.
the conversation could be about life. You want to be able to have that freedom to go in both directions. And for us as an organization, that's what we pride ourselves on, is being there for our athletes, not just while we're coaching them, but even beyond. And of course, that's also how you joined us as a coach now, as coming from a past player, knowing that AVA has open doors and wanting to give back to our athletes. And I think that is just amazing, and it speaks so much volume of your character, wanting to instill the values that you were taught, and also combine that with the experience that you've had in your many years of playing and coaching as well.
Awesome.
This was great. And so as we move into the AVA podcast, this is a format that we want to continue. We thank you for your time today. This is actually during AVA passing school, so we hate that we kind of borrowed you for a short while.
No, that's okay. It's session 2.
Session 2.
That's okay.
Correct. Again, you've heard from Amanda Murphy, who is 18 Attack head coach and coordinator of AVA adult programs, and we'll have more information on our website under her bio. Again, this is Michael Williams. Our club directors are Katie Garza and Jerry Lynch, and we thank everyone for joining us today.
Awesome. Thank you, Michael.
Thank you, Amanda.
Have a good one.
Okay, bye.
Bye.